Hey guys, welcome to episode one of Talk It Up Tuesday. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking to Tanner Holmes, an up-and-coming sprint car driver out of Oregon, very close to my home. This picture right here is actually in Oregon at Tanner's home track. So, looking forward to talking to him. He's already got a win in a sprint car here in the Northwest at one of my home tracks, Skagit Speedway, and he's got over 40 wins with the Red Bluff Outlaws down in California. Some of the best outlaw carts on the West Coast, or as I'd imagine across the country. So looking forward to talking to him. Something really cool about Tanner as well is he's got a great social media presence and following. He's already got over 40,000 subscribers to his YouTube channel. So super cool, and looking forward to talking to him. Let's get to it. Hey Tanner, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing awesome. Really excited to have you. This is really cool, especially with the success that you've had in February. Definitely wanted to get you on a call and kind of pick your brain and see how you work. And really cool thing for me is your social media presence and your following and what you do with that stuff as a regional local guy. I think that's great for up and coming racers, especially. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself as far as kind of where you're from, how old you are, how you got into racing, and your journey?
Yeah, first off, thank you for having me on the show. I'm excited to talk about what I do and what we do on a weekly basis. First off, my name's Tanner Holmes. Like you said, I'm 17 years old and I'm from Southern Oregon. Grew up in the Pacific Northwest and primarily in dirt track racing around the circle tracks here, Southern Oregon, towards the central part of the state. We ran up a little bit also in Washington and then also in California. So just up and down the West Coast, I got started at a young age of about 5 years old. And from there, it just kind of snowballed into the only thing we ended up doing. Racing is something that consumes a lot of your time. And especially if you want to be the best at it or continue to work that way, you definitely have to put a lot of time and effort in. So that was just something that at a young age I found to love. And then later in my life, I also kind of found that I love to document my races and share it on my YouTube channel and on my social media. So two things now that I just really enjoy doing that I've kind of combined together to now share with my audience through YouTube and through those other social media platforms. So it's been a lot of fun. 2021's been off to a great start, and we're just looking forward to having a great year and hopefully getting back to a little bit of normalcy, I guess you could say, in the racing world and getting fans back to the track and kind of getting back to our normal swing of things.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's definitely been such a tough year. Super cool that you're from the Northwest. The picture right back behind me is actually down at Medford. So I was pretty bummed to see that they're closing a couple
Yeah,
weeks
that
ago.
was my home track. So I grew up going to the dirt track there. Most Saturday nights, I would run the little track on Friday, and we actually used to have pretty good car counts back in the day. That was where I turned my first laps, and then between that place in the summertime and a couple of other tracks locally, and then like the Red Bluff Outlaws in the wintertime, just a couple hours south. I mean, that's really where I guess I became the racer that I am today. So hopefully that place will get back up and running. I think it does have a bright future if the right people kind of get it, and I think it will. And hopefully it turns back into one of the premier tracks on the West Coast within the next 10 years.
Yeah, we can only hope. This is the favorite picture of mine that I ever got of my racing stuff. That was the only night that we spent down there, and it was a little bit overwatered that night, so we packed for a long time, and the car was even understeering in the first corner of the main event, but it was a lot of fun. So I really like that place. Um, Kind of speaking of Red Bluff, you've had so much success there, especially this month, and what you've shared and the wins that you've had over your career. Just wanted you to touch on that, and maybe what gives you success at that place, because it's such a cool racetrack, and I love bullring racing. You got to get in there and be aggressive and do what you got to do to make moves and protect your spot and all that good stuff.
Yeah, Red Bluff is a pretty unique place. I think it hasn't really come to the media side of things or hasn't really been in the headlines, I guess you could say, for the dirt track racing world until the last couple of years. And outlaw carts in particular are just now really starting to get a lot more attention, which is obviously what runs there. But Red Bluff, it's been around since the 1980s. It's the birthplace of outlaw carts and that form of racing, and right up and down the coast there by the Red Bluff Outlaws and a little bit north of there and a little bit south, just between a couple of tracks. And that's where outlaw kart racing got started and really turned into what it now is today and expanded to, I guess you could say, an international level and a national level here in the United States. So we just started running there back in about 2010, and immediately we found that the competition was second to none. a lot of good drivers there on a weekly basis. And from all the other tracks we had went to, we knew Red Bluff was going to be the place to be if I wanted to become a better driver. So we really invested our time and our effort into going down there, 12, 13, 14 times a year to literally hit every single race. We ran for points throughout every single division. And now we're up into 2021. And we've had a lot of success there, 41 wins and a couple of track championships and a lot of great memories. So that place has, not just for myself, but guys like Kyle Larson, Rico Abreu, Logan Seavey, the list goes on, has really molded us into the drivers that we are today. So when we get into different situations and different race cars, we're prepared and ready to go, because Red Bluff is so intense, and I guess stressful is a good word. So when you get into other forms of racing, in a way, as far as the mental side of things go, it's actually easier.
Definitely. You really got to go where the competition is if you want to push yourself and get better. And I'm a huge believer and proponent and pusher of the mental side, especially. That's definitely something I work with a lot of my guys on, because I think it's a big thing that I didn't have in my racing career, and I wish I would have had. And I think that's just the strongest tool that you'll ever have. So you might as well try to make it a good one. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to go where the competition's at. It's only what makes you a better driver. And if I would have raced other tracks and outlaw karts or even other forms of racing growing up, I don't think I would have been where I'm at today, I guess. And with the progress that we made, and as we continue to try to get better. So I 100% agree. You gotta race with the best to be the best.
Yeah, definitely. And I think especially outlaw cars are just such great stepping stone towards the big cars. If you want to get in a wing sprint car and that's what you want to be competitive, that's what you should be running. And especially for guys that are trying to stay sharp, if you can get yourself in one of those things, that's definitely a great way to stay sharp, because it's the most relevant race car at an affordable or more affordable level than wing sprint cars. One thing I wanted to ask you is kind of, what's the big goal in motorsports for you? What do you see yourself doing in 5-10 years?
I really want to keep, making content. That's something that I don't really plan on stopping. And that's actually something that I think is not that there was ever a point where I didn't enjoy racing, but it is one of those sports that's such a grind. So for myself to add that side of things of like creating content when we're going to the racetrack and like kind of, in a way, make our own little TV show about it and bring people in different characters with some of my friends and family. And that really just like gained more love for the sport. And so that has kind of kept my fire burning even hotter, you could say. And just down the line, I want to continue to, take as many opportunities as I can, if that's in other forms of racing, whether that may be a modified or a dirt late model or a wing sprint car, whatever I can hop into, I want to, just to try all the different forms. But I think the end goal for me is to make it to as high in the sport as I can, whether that's NASCAR, which that's a little far-fetched because I'm already 17. And if you're not involved with asphalt at a young age, that, the chances of that are very slim. So I don't really expect to get there, but that's kind of every kid's dream, I guess you could say. And then the World of Outlaws is kind of the next step. So I think it'd be cool to be an outlaw, but another goal of mine, because that is also tough as well, is it'd just be awesome to own my own team and continue to build the foundation, I guess, that we're trying to build now with my audience and creating content. And then just, if you own all your own stuff, if you can eventually get to the point where having marketing partners and people that want to help you and support your racing, as there's other teams that do it, then you can kind of just control your own destiny and go race wherever you want to race, whether that's locally for a little bit or you want to hit the road for certain parts of the year. And it's tough too, but hopefully get to a point where you don't have to necessarily worry about finding funding, because like I said, you have good people backing you and want to support what you do.
Yeah, definitely. And I think so many up and coming kids, especially if they want to have a sustained long career in racing, the marketing side and the social media and the following is something they really, really need to develop. Off the top of your head, do you know how many followers you have on Instagram, YouTube, and stuff like that?
YouTube, I think we're sitting at about 42,200. And then Instagram, I think we're close to like 13,500. But just so fortunate to have people that are interested in what I'm doing, and thankful. I started YouTube in 2016, I believe about September. I uploaded my first video, and obviously a lot has changed. I've grown up, and it's cool that people, I guess, have gotten to follow that transformation, you could say. And like I said earlier, I don't plan on stopping anytime soon, because it's just something that's so fun to do. And that's also where I guess racing is going in general. If you're not, posting, if you're not marketing, you're kind of going to be irrelevant and lost, amongst all of your other competitors.
Definitely. Especially in today's day and age and with the pandemic and everything going on, people want to see content, you know. Have you looked back at any of those early videos and seen kind of the progression from that stuff? I could imagine it's come leaps and bounds from the first stuff.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I was just so much younger. I wasn't as matured, and as I still continue to make progress. It's funny as a content creator. A lot of it is you're in such a rush maybe to get things up or work on things that you don't really look back at your content library. I guess would be the best way to put it. But every once in a while, I do, and I see stuff. Or my favorite is I'll be at a racetrack and I'll walk by a kid and he's like maybe playing my videos on his phone, and you realize which video he's watching, or you even forgot that you uploaded that. But it's just super cool that we've been doing it for this long. And also, as I do get older, one thing I also remember is that it's going to be a way for me to look back at old races that, maybe pop up here and there, or, everything or every racetrack I've been to over the last 4 years, for the most part, has been documented. So anything I want to go back and check out, or see how a night went, or see how bad a night went, it's all there on the internet to see.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have anything you'd tell, up and coming or young guys that are maybe shy or tentative about getting on camera and doing stuff like that? Any sort of advice you could share with those guys, especially for the marketing standpoint, or even the competition stuff as well, as they grow as young racers?
Just figure out what you're good at and really attack that. Not everyone has to be creating YouTube videos. I always wanted to do YouTube. I just didn't know what I wanted to film. And then I found that, you know, originally when I was creating videos, I wanted to just be like a lifestyle vlogger, kind of do what the trends were and try to, hit 10 million followers, just like any kid that you see all these social media stars. And then I realized that it's a lot more niche, but I could just share what I wanted to do. And I found the way that I guess with my skills shared it best, which was holding a camera, filming myself, doing the GoPro angles, doing all that where it's right there with me. But there's also other ways you can do it. If you're scared in front of the camera, start an audio podcast or something that recaps your events with, pictures on the screen or something like that. Maybe you're scared to be in front of a camera, so you like to do audio. Or even people that, if you're good at writing, you could write post-race recaps, stories on what happened throughout the race. There's different ways you can share this content now, as there's so many different forms and ways that it could potentially blow up or gain traction, or ways for people to follow you, not necessarily just through YouTube and videos. So that's one thing that even with what I'm doing, I'm trying to attack all places to put my content. And that's like why we started a podcast. Even though it is video, it really attacks the audio side of things for people that want to listen to long form content of myself. Now they have a podcast to listen to, not just my YouTube videos, which are 10 to 15 to 20 minutes. So just figure out what you're good at and the best way you can possibly share what you love in your racing. And I think that'll be successful.
Yeah, and I think the best way to get started is just to do it, right?
Oh, 100%.
It's
You need to
super,
get
super
started.
tough to edit yourself, especially, and it's uncomfortable. But if you want to have that following and build that followership, it's just something you got to do. So I definitely commend you for all that stuff. It's super, super cool.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I would agree. You have to get started. If I wouldn't, the hardest part is just taking that first leap. I did that in 2016, and I actually continually do that, I guess you could say, in smaller forms. Even though, like, for example, we have the following of 40,000 subscribers. I was nervous to start a podcast because it's something I'm not necessarily comfortable with or good at, because it's talking for longer periods of times. It's reaching out and trying to find guests that want to be on your show, and having to interact with someone else that maybe has a following, and figure out how to write notes and get their story. So the biggest thing for me, like you said, is just trying to put yourself in uncomfortable spots, because that's where growth happens, and that's where you can see some of the biggest leaps, I guess would be the best way to put it. So I'm working on that every single week, every single year, just trying to keep putting myself in more uncomfortable spots and gain those skills to become better.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's the only way you grow, is going forward, right? And if you're not uncomfortable, you're probably not going forward. So I figured we'd end it with just a little rapid fire quick questions, and then we'll wrap it up for the night.
Cool.
First one, just what's your favorite racetrack?
Favorite racetrack, Red Bluff. It doesn't get too much better than that. If I had to pick an outdoor track as well, I always enjoy running at Skagit. It's a great local competition in Washington, always a great surface.
Yeah, I love Skagit. That was our home track. So if I'm not in a car, I love being up there sitting in the stands watching good racing too. So it's a great place to watch some races. If you could try any type of motorsport, regardless of cost or what it is, what's one thing you might try at least one time?
One thing, my good friend Bennett, we always love the off-road stuff like rallycross and the long form races through the desert, like the Baja 1000. We always wanted to try that. So trophy trucks, off-road racing. One day I hope to get behind the wheel.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to be in a pre-runner that basically had the same suspension as a full-blown trophy truck, and that thing was phenomenal. So it
Really?
was a little bit heavier and only 600 horsepower instead of 900 horsepower, but that thing was wild. And I actually grew up watching like the stadium stuff when the Mickey Thompson stuff was around. My dad was racing off-road buggies and actually ran that deal for a couple of years. So I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. I
That's
love the
super cool.
off-road stuff. Yeah, and I actually drug 7 of my buddies to the middle of Wisconsin to go to Crandon for my bachelor party. So
Wow. There you
definitely
go.
love the off-road stuff. Um, I know you said motorsports is kind of the only thing, but is there anything other than motorsports that you like to do when you got some time?
I always like to go see new places. I'm a pretty homely person, so I spend a lot of time here in Southern Oregon. But I try to get outside my box and travel to new places and just see new sights. It's always fun to spend time with the family. Other than that, though, like I said, I don't do anything else really. I did play baseball a lot growing up, so if there was another sport that I would ever want to pursue, it would definitely be that because I guess I had a little bit of talent in that and enjoyed playing it upwards up until high school.
Nice, nice. I played baseball all the way through high school. I almost went to college to play baseball, but wanted to go racing instead.
Oh, there you go.
What's the coolest place you've traveled?
Coolest place I've traveled. We went to the Midwest a little bit. I've never been outside the United States. Well, I guess I went to Mexico once, but that wasn't anything too special. It was really cool this last year when we took our trip through the Midwest and got to see a good amount of Kansas, a little bit of Oklahoma, and Arkansas. Probably my favorite place, though, back in my Outlaw Kart days when they still had the race, we went to North Carolina and got to spend a lot of time in the Mooresville area close to Charlotte. And back there, it's just so unique because so many people know about racing. Here on the West Coast, you could go to the grocery store and, no one in there would know what sprint cars are or what NASCAR is really. But back in North Carolina and specifically, like I said, Concord, there's Charlotte, Mooresville. There's a bunch of restaurants that are all themed about the NASCAR races. The grocery stores, everybody back there is involved in the racing scene and working at the shops and the haulers and all that. So it's super cool to be in that environment compared to what we're used to on the West Coast.
Yeah, definitely. They live it back there.
Yeah.
Um, that's kind of how Crandon felt because it's such a small place, and when the race is in town, just that's the only thing going on. So it's super cool back there. Um, when the world back or when the world rather opens back up, I hear there's some good sprint car racing down New Zealand, Australia. I've been lucky enough to get down to both of those. So if you get a chance, definitely get down there when the world opens back up.
That's the goal. I'm talking to a couple people right now. I'm really trying to get my seat in a car down there, either in Australia or New Zealand, or get some kart racing in, and we'll see what we can make happen. I think if everything goes to plan, there's a good chance you might see us down there at the end of 2021 when it's kind of time for the international guys to head down to those places and find a couple tracks to race at.
Yeah, especially New Zealand. If there's a place I could retire, that'd be on the list. So very, very cool
I
country.
guess a question I have for you, because the one of the main guys I'm talking to is in New Zealand, North or South Island? Because I've been researching a bunch, trying to figure out different places there. But do you have a particular spot in New Zealand?
Uh, so especially, I've been lucky enough to travel quite a bit. What you realize is you only get to see small parts of these
Yeah.
big, big places in the world. It's just such a huge place. But we essentially went from the East Coast to the West Coast of the South Island.
Oh, okay.
And it was one of the coolest places I've ever been. So I would totally go to South Island and go through places like Queenstown, which is the activity capital of the world. They have like 10 different places you can bungee jump, you can rent mountain bikes and go through their mountain bike stuff. You can like
heli golf. They'll take you up to the tee boxes and stuff. So there's just a ton of crazy cool stuff around there. And it's just one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. Some of it kind of reminds me of the Northwest with the mountains and different stuff like that. So super, super cool.
That's
and I know
awesome.
they do race in the South Island. So I know Doug Roots goes down there and has been down there a couple times and raced with those guys. So I would definitely suggest the South Island.
If we head down there, that'll probably be that's the area we would be headed to. So I'll keep you updated. Maybe I'll make something happen and like I said, end up in a car down there at a couple of the tracks.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Last quick question. What's a random fact about you that most people probably don't know?
Oh, this is actually a good one. So this sometimes creeps people out, or I don't know, but you'll be able to see it on camera. It was one of my old videos, but actually my pinkies are crooked,
Nice.
you know? So that people always joke, this is how I can grip the steering wheel better. I was born like this. It's just something that's kind of, it's certain generations in my family end up with, and I just got lucky enough to have it. So like I said, it helps me grip the steering wheel better, and that's a fun fact that people always see every once in a while. And if they don't know that about me, like I said, they usually find out.
Yeah, well, that's cool, man. Use it to your advantage in the race car for sure.
Heck yeah.
One of the biggest things I work with people on is you gotta hold the wheel. So that helps you. Use it to your advantage. So really appreciate your time, man. Great to meet you. I know we never crossed paths in the race car, but maybe we will someday.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. I always get to enjoy telling my story and a little bit about myself.
Awesome. Much appreciated. And good luck in the near future. And hopefully we'll see some more wins coming out of you soon.
Thank you. We'll talk soon.
All right.